No, man, but you got to keep going. What am I going to do, quit? That's not an option. You got to keep on keeping on. Life's a garden, dig it? You make it work for you. You never give up, man. That's my philosophy.
Hey gardeners, hope you're all doing well this weekend and everything's growing great in your gardens. We're talking about big giant pumpkins this weekend, and I've got mine picked out already from our alleyway gardens, and we've got these nice size. These are Big Macs, and this one's a really good size one here too as well. But I'm not sure about how much it weighs, but it's a good size for sure, but definitely doesn't compare to the pumpkins we're going to be talking about this weekend on the show. We've got world record holders with us this weekend. So, all right, everybody, let's get growing. All right, all my passionate plant people and garden enthusiasts. It's time for the Let's Get Growing show here on the Urban Gardener channel. I'm Enoch. I'm your host today, and we've got an awesome show for you today. This weekend, we are talking all about growing giants, growing big fruits and vegetables, and we've got some great guests for you here today. A little bit later in the show, we've got joining with us Travis Gienger, world record holder. Travis broke the world record for his giant pumpkin you see there. This one was called Michael Jordan. And that pumpkin weighs 2,749 pounds. And Travis will be joining us a little bit later in the show as he's actually on the road right now on his way from Minnesota to Half Moon Bay, California, where he's bringing his new pumpkin this year, Rudy, to the weigh-offs there down at the Half Moon Bay competition, and we'll just have to see whether or not he breaks his own record from last year. But looking forward to this conversation with him, and then in just a few minutes too, we're going to have joining with us, returning to the show, we've got Cindy Tobeck. She's a master giant grower herself, and we're going to talk with her and catch up with how everything's been growing this year, and all sorts of great stuff about growing giants today and tomorrow as well too, because we are here every Saturday and Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And definitely come and join with us tomorrow as well too. And if you are here at the top of the show, definitely click that thumbs up, hit the like button. Also, hit the subscribe button as well too if you haven't already. And if you hit that bell notification, it will notify you of all of our upcoming videos and live streams. And definitely share with all of your friends too. Let everybody know about the Let's Get Growing show. It's so great to have all of you here with us today. And if you are joining with us on the replay, thank you so much for taking your time to join with us on your time, which is really great about doing these live shows here on YouTube, is that the show's available for everybody after it's over for any time you want to watch it or rewatch it. But thanks again, everybody, for joining with us as well, too. And if you can, get down in the comment section. I love to hear from everybody. And let me know what you think of the show. Let me know if you got any suggestions for any upcoming guests, as well as any other comments, any other thoughts that you might have. And definitely if you just want to say hi, jump right in there as well too. So excellent. So great to have all of you here with us today. And if you do have any questions or comments, definitely jump into our chat right now and leave any of those questions, comments, or just join the discussion in the chat section there. And we might just feature some of your questions a little bit later on in the show. One note to take though too is if you do have questions though, put them in all caps. That way we can see the questions, differentiate them from what the conversation's going on there. So helps me see those and make sure that we can get those asked, especially when we got our guests coming up here in just a little bit too. Definitely want to get your questions in then as well too, because we got some, like I said, we got some great guests. We got a really awesome show for you here today. And we do have links to all of our guests and everything else down below in the description, so you can find all of those there. Definitely. Right on, right on. We've got a lot of great things going on today, but we also, again, too, I like to mention everything that we had going last week as well, too, just in case you missed our show last week. On last Saturday's show, we had a really great show where we were talking all about gardening and music. We had our good friend and return guest Charlie McGee on the show from Formidable Vegetable, and Charlie sang some songs for us, and it was a whole bunch of really great fun talking to him from Australia and hearing all about his band Formidable Vegetables. So you'll want to go back and check that out. We did also get to meet Alicia DeVore from Create My Garden as well too. So lots and lots of great stuff there as well on last Saturday's show. We also have our Sunday edition of the show. Like I said, we're here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And last Sunday, we were talking with Robin Jones from Honey Girl Grows. A couple of weeks back, we did do a all about beekeeping weekend, sort of like what we're doing today with Growing Giants. And so we talked a lot with some really great beekeepers, Cayman Reynolds and other beekeepers as well too. And it was really fun, great discussion. But I wanted to kind of really take a day, and that's what we did last Sunday, take a day to kind of really emphasize a little bit more about pollinators in general, and native pollinators especially, and native plant gardens and all of that as well. I went and visited our local pollinator project, Rogue Valley, where they give a big, huge emphasis on native gardens. They have a great little nursery there where they sell native plants and everything that are really great for my area, and really help encourage all of those native pollinators. So that was a really great discussion talking with Robin Jones from Honey Girl Grows. So again, a couple of great shows. We have great shows every weekend. So that's why you want to make sure you're here. That's why you want to make sure that you're sharing with all of your friends to let them know about all these great conversations we're having with all these wonderful growers and beekeepers and such. So definitely great to have you all here with us today. We're also promoting right now in just a couple of weeks. It's going to be Halloween. And for Halloween, each and every year, for several years now, I'm sure this is like either the fifth or sixth year that I've done this in a row, but we are going to have a special Halloween hangout live stream featuring the original 1960 classic, The Little Shop of Horrors. Just a really great, fun version. It's quite a bit different than the one we're all familiar with Rick Moranis and Steve Martin from the 80s and all of that. This one is the original, and it's old black and white with and it's really funny. It's a little bit different. It's really a fun watch, and we're lucky enough that it's a public domain movie, so that allows us to be able to play it here on the channel. So it'll be really fun to get together with all of you while we're just kind of hanging out on Halloween, handing out treats to all the neighborhood kids, and we get the chance to get to hang out and watch this fun classic movie and have some discussions, before and after, and as well too after our discussion after that movie too. If anybody wants to still stick around and hang out, we will also play and watch a theatrical version of The Little Shop of Horrors, featuring old actor Hal Linden from an old television show I remember when I was a little kid called Barney, and it's kind of great to see him in this theatrical version of Little Shop of Horrors. So again, just one of my favorite shows. So it's really fun to be able to hang out with all of you each and every Halloween, again, too, while we're hanging out and handing out treats to kids, might as well just watch a movie together and have some fun. So definitely join with us then. Again, October 31st on Halloween. We will start that live stream at about 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And also, too, I want to let everybody know, too, and this will actually be just this next week, our third Sunday of the month, we are going to be talking with return guest Ashley Thomas, the Mocha Gardener. And we're going to be talking with our good friend Mark Boucher Colbert, our co-host for the monthly book club, all about her book, How to Become a Gardener. This book is just a really great book. That's why we had to make sure that we featured it for our monthly gardening book club. And we're just going to dig into this book and talk all about it with Ashley and our good friend Mark again next Sunday for our monthly book club here on the Sunday edition of the Let's Get Growing show. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I hope that all of you get a chance to come and join with us for that as well too, because again too, I really enjoy talking to Ashley. She's such a fun conversation. It's going to be really great to just kind of get in and dig into that really great book. It's a really awesome book for anybody who's just getting started in gardening. You know, and just really goes over a lot of really great subjects and just kind of, you know, formulating and thinking about what your first garden is going to be like and all of that. She really gets really in depth with this book and has a lot of great information. So you'll definitely either want to go out and get that book or definitely come and join with us next Sunday to talk all about it. So yeah, we got lots and lots of great stuff growing on here. I got lots and lots of, you know, great things still growing on here in the garden as well too. We've got lots of things that we're still pulling out of the garden. As I've been mentioning over the last couple of weeks, our weather is just really something else as it's extending well into fall now. In fact, we haven't even had any rain yet, which is actually causing me some trouble in the garden as well too. I'll have to talk about that just a little bit more in coming shows too, because again, you know, we're already supposed to be having some rain in fall. I mean, we usually are a really dry region here in Southern Oregon. So, you know, towards mid and May, all the way through until mid to end of September is just dry. And we don't really see hardly any rain at all. I mean, we were fortunate enough to have like a day or so where it did kind of rain a little bit in the middle of August, which was really nice. It was really great, but it only did so much for us. And then again, now we're extending into another dry season well into October. In fact, I think they might have a forecast of some rain for us coming up maybe this next week or something, but the percentages are still pretty low. So I don't really count on that too much until those percentages get a little bit higher. But we'll see. Maybe we'll get a little drizzle or something like that coming this next week, but it'll be nice to see. Things are, you know, getting in a sense, you know, usually at this point in time, this is when I start to be able to take a break from most of the, you know, almost daily watering that I have to do with some of the parts of our back patio garden and also the alleyway garden where we don't have any ability to put any sort of drip in. So we got to make sure those get watered, you know, pretty much on a daily basis. And usually it's about, you know, like I said, mid to late September where I could start pulling back from that and you know, focusing on some other things. You know, there's lots and lots of things going on around here. So it's been kind of unfortunate that the rain hasn't shown up yet, and we're having to kind of keep up with that as well too. So yeah, so again, we're pulling out lots of stuff right now. I'm still getting tons of tomatoes. In fact, I got a tomato plants that really, you know, gave me a few tomatoes before the season started. This before summer really kicked in and all the heat really pushed back production on all of our tomato plants. So I was able to get, you know, quite a few tomatoes off of a few of the plants that we have right in our alleyway, but they are just going crazy right now. In fact, for the last month or so, they've just been growing wild, putting out tons of fruit, and big awesome fruit too. So hopefully you know, we'll be able to, well, I mean, hopefully we'll get some rain. You know, I don't mind the warmer bit of this extended summer season, but really we do got to get moving on and you know, get the temperatures down just a little bit and all of that. But the way it looks, we might still have a few more weeks that we're able to leave these tomatoes on the plants and let them kind of hopefully start to blush so that we can bring them in and start letting them ripen up when the cold season gets started. So yeah, we got lots of that sort of stuff growing on. Still actually getting some cucumbers off of some of our cucumber plants. The plants aren't looking very good, but there's still a few fruits that are coming off of that. And as you saw at the beginning of the show too, um, I did pull off our pumpkins that we have growing in our alleyway or back alleyway area. I have a section where we usually grow some pumpkins, and we had some pretty good ones this year. Like I said, we grew this Big Macs. I've been wanting to try those. I picked up some seeds from Baker Creek last year at the Baker Creek Heirloom Exposition, and so we grew those out this year and ended up with a couple of decent sized pumpkins. Let's see here. I got a picture here for you. And I'm not sure about how big that big one is. Maybe about, I would guess to say maybe 40 pounds if we're lucky there. And the other one's still a decent sized pumpkin. But again, we only have so much space in that area, so I only try to let the plants grow a couple of pumpkins, a couple of fruit, and we've grown several different varieties. It works out well there. A few years back, though, I did grow my biggest pumpkin, which I believe was a Dill Atlantic variety of pumpkin, and that one grew really big. I mean, I got 137 pounds, and that for me is absolutely huge. So yeah, really great uh, big pumpkin, and it was really fun to have that one. It was actually so big that I actually had to have my daughter help me pull it up and carry it because we brought it out to the front for everybody to see, during Halloween, and all the kids who were walking up again, on Halloween Eve as we're handing out all the treats. So we put it out front, painted it up, as a jack-o'-lantern and all of that as well too. But it was so big, I had to have help carrying that thing, or I was going to have to find some way of pulling it or some sort of way. But again, the biggest pumpkin I've ever grown. I'd like to see if I can't break that, maybe break my own personal record maybe this next year. So we might try that out a little bit as well too. So we'll have to see about that. All right, let's catch up with everybody in the chat here. We definitely want to make sure right here, right at top, we thank Jay Dixon, our facilitator today, joining us from Midwestern Ontario, Canada. Thank you, Jay, so much for joining with us here and helping us out in our live chat. Jay is really awesome. Puts in and keep an eye out too for links and all of that are popping up in the chat to help us out with more information on certain things that we're talking about. And let's see here. We've got right on. Let's see. We've got we got Adam Burley. Yes, definitely. Our other moderator joining with us here. He's joined me right from down the road here, lives local to me, just right up in Central Point, Oregon. And great to have Adam joining with us here today. And we've got Bowtie Life in the Garden. Greetings from London, UK. Are you on a trip, Bowtie? Wow. I mean, I want to get to go see the UK. That would be so awesome. I'm going to have to get out and do that sometimes. I know. And Jay, actually, are you really in London right now? What a great trip, though, to be able to make. And we've got also Rick joining us from Australia. Great to see Rick here joining with us from the future in Australia. Great for you to get up nice and early to be with us, Rick. Really awesome. Let's see here. And let's see what we got. I want to make sure we get everybody in here. Oh, and we got Connie joining with us. Connie, great to see you. Thanks for joining with us today. Right on, right on. Let's see. Jersey girl. Excellent, excellent. Awesome, awesome. She said, hi, friends. I am a grandmom. What? Did you just have a grandbaby too? Wow, congratulations. If so, definitely. That is so awesome. I'm still reeling from my very first grandbaby. Just born this end of last June. It's just so awesome. Such a great feeling to be a grandparent and to be able to watch our kids have their own children as well too. It's just been such a really awesome experience. I'm still just loving it here almost 3 months in now already. I can't believe 3 months already, but I'm already used to this. The one who can't really believe it is my daughter, who's just gonna have that same experience. I mean, our kids grow up so fast. It's unbelievable. So unbelievable. And yeah, so congratulations. Let's see here. And Jersey Girl says, I have a granddaughter too. Awesome. That is so amazing. I'm so looking forward to it. Again, too, I was telling my daughter I don't really care either way, granddaughter, grandson, but either way would be really awesome. But now that I do have a granddaughter, it's really going to be amazing to watch another young girl grow up again, and just an awesome experience. So really so awesome for you. Thank you so much for sharing that with us today. And well, I'm just waiting and seeing here. I'm not sure. We were supposed to have Cindy Tobeck joining with us, and I haven't seen her join in yet. So hopefully she'll be with us here. I'm trying to double check and see if we saw that. All right. Well, hopefully she'll be jumping in here soon and we can get a few minutes in with her before we talk with Travis from or Travis Gienger. He grew the world record pumpkin. It's so amazing to see these huge, giant pumpkins. In fact, I've gotten to go to a couple of different fairs and a couple of different local expositions where we see some of these big pumpkins. I've never actually seen one that was over like 1,500 pounds, maybe a 17 if I'm thinking correctly on one of the last ones that I saw. But yes, but that another 1,000 pounds. I mean, these things are becoming monsters now, and it's just wondering where the limits might be when it comes to growing these giant pumpkins. I mean, they're just so huge anymore. I know, and thinking back to conversations we've had with Cindy before when she was growing some of her first competition pumpkins, and a lot of those were all around like 500 pounds, maybe, several years ago. And to think of, that they're just getting bigger and bigger and bigger each and every year. And really great to see too. We also have Travis joining with us again, like I mentioned, on the road. So he's actually right now in the middle of traveling to Half Moon Bay, California, where Safeway puts on their big competition. And this is where he competes each and every year and broke that record last year with his pumpkin named Michael Jordan. And on the road, I think he said he's going to be somewhere around Grand Rapids, Michigan or something. So he'll have his new pumpkin this year. The pumpkin's name is Rudy, that he has on his truck that they're traveling across the country to take to this competition. So it'll be fun and interesting to see whether or not he can break his own record. Yeah. And let's see here. Let me make sure. Bowtie is saying that I'm thinking about trying pumpkins for the first time next year. Yeah, they're really fun to grow. Really, like I said, like I was mentioning with ours, I just only have like this really kind of small space, maybe 5, 6 feet by maybe 8 feet, kind of little space that I have, which kind of runs right up to the front of our alleyway. So it's kind of fun to grow those right there and then have our pumpkins out. So like everybody who's walking through the alleyway can just kind of watch these pumpkins as they're growing. And so it's really kind of cool to have them there. And like I said, I've grown a pretty good size one in just this a little bit of space. So yeah, they're really fun to grow. I would definitely give one a try if you got some space to do it. Definitely. Let's see here. Mm, 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 mm. And let's see here. Oh yeah, bow ties. Like I keep looking at the time. It's 7 p.m. here because he's there visiting in London, and says I'm not used to seeing him seeing me at this time this late. Yeah, it's a little bit different. You get to kind of have that experience of what it's like for some of our friends over in the UK who join the show in the evening, and some of our guests that we have on the show as well too. So for them, they all come and join with us in the evening time after they've already had their day and everything. So yep. Let's see here. Right on. Making sure we're getting through the chat here. Jersey Girl says, I can't wait to hear how they grow these giants. Yeah, I know, huh? Lots of work. I'll just mention that I was in um, a competition or joined a competition for growing in a few different categories. And one of the categories that we were growing in fact, this was one when we first had Cindy Tobeck on our show, was talking about this competition I was growing. In fact, Cindy had um, let's see, let me get in here. Cindy had a big giant that she grew the year before and sent me some seeds for it. So those were the seeds that I used for the competition. And so I was trying to get some good insights on how they grow them. And it's really something else, the amount of work uh, that they're able to or that they have to do in order to grow a lot of these big giant pumpkins. Let's see here. Oh, so there we go. All right. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot. In fact, it is, as far as I understand, there's a lot of pruning because these, pumpkins and squash and these sort of things, they have all these different as we call them suckers, but they create all these extra vines that go in all different directions. So you'll have main ones that go this way, and then you'll have some that'll go this way, and then those ones will grow ones that go this way, and they'll just keep spreading out. But one of the ways to put and move energy into these pumpkins is that they have to prune off those secondary suckers that grow off of them, and keep those in line basically, and keep them nice and burying different parts of the vines as well too, so that they can root out more and bring more energy into these large pumpkins. And then as well too, um, they got to, watering too, tons and tons of watering. Talk about, I was mentioning all the watering I've got to do for all these other garden spaces we've got around here. But when they get so big, these things can put on, like as far as I understand, about 50 to 80 pounds a day when they're really, really growing and swelling up basically. And they really need a ton of water as they're doing that. So you got to really keep a lot of water on them as well too. So yeah, lots and lots going into growing these big giant pumpkins. Me, I didn't necessarily get to finish up those big giant pumpkins and squash that I was growing that year for that competition, uh, because of the competition itself. But that's a whole nother story. But I kind of wish I would have finished them out and just at least seen how big I could have gotten those. Because we did have a pretty good space to be able to grow them in and everything. It would have been nice to see how big those are, and maybe, like I said, even have broken my record that I had set actually the year before that, my own record, the 137-pound pumpkin. But yeah, right on, right on. So let's see here. Not sure if Cindy is going to be able to join with us today. It's already, hopefully, if she is able to, she must be having some issues with the technology or something like that. I did send out another message to her. So again, this is another one of those unfortunate situations again about doing a live show that sometimes we run into some issues again with either technology or certain things when it comes to being able to get some of our guests in. This is anything we haven't seen before. So again, too, no problem hanging out with all of you and talking. If you guys have any questions or comments or anything like that, definitely jump into our chat here as well. And then we'll look forward to hopefully talking with Travis here as well, too, because he's on the road. So hopefully everything goes well with that. But I did send him a message, and he said he should be ready to go when he is in. I think he's, like I said, I think he said he's probably going to be around Grand Rapids. So again, that'll be really fun to talk with him as well too. So let's see here. Let's see here. Connie asked a good question, and we'll probably have to ask this a little bit later to one of our guests or something, because again, I'm not as particularly knowledgeable on that front. I don't, in fact, I mean, all of my pumpkins, I just grow basically either for, I've given away to actually a local family here in the neighborhood a few years ago when I grew several different smaller varieties. But mostly, I'll grow them again just for fun that we can grow. And again, so that, people can watch and see these big pumpkins growing as they're visiting the alleyway garden and they're walking through. So they'll get to see the pumpkins growing. And then we move them out front where we set them out for all of the fall festivities and everything too. So I haven't eaten any of the pumpkins that I have. Uh, we did grow several years ago before I even, really was doing a channel or anything. I did grow some, and I can't even remember what variety they were, but they were pie pumpkins for sure. And so I thought I could grow those and try those. But those are the only ones I've ever grown to eat. Yeah. And yeah, Jay says right here is that giant pumpkins are not generally edible. Large ones are donated to charities and soup kitchens. And again, best to ask the experts later. Yeah, exactly. We'll definitely. I'll have that. I'll mark that for sure, so that we can ask Travis just a little bit later on about that question for sure. I do know, in fact, one of the things that they have here in Oregon, and I know that I believe Cindy's been involved or gone to this festival as well. It's called the Giant Pumpkin Regatta here in Oregon. And what they do is they take a lot of these giant pumpkins that a lot of the giant growers grow here on the West Coast, and they carve them out into little boats. And they get in there and they got their oars and they're out on the lake. And I don't know, I think they do like a little race or something like that in these boats. So I mean, these pumpkins are big enough where you can carve them out and they will float in the water and you can use them as boats. It's really something to see. It's quite a sight to see this giant pumpkin regatta that they have here in Oregon. I've been wanting to get up there and check it out sometime, just for the fun of it. It just looks like it would be a ton of fun. In fact, I might even, who knows, even try to get into one of them if it's possible. Because I mean, how fun would that be to, be inside of a pumpkin and, just float around in the lake like you're in a little boat or a raft or something. But those are some of the things that I've seen folks do with a lot of these big giant pumpkins. And also another one too is that I've seen big pumpkin growers do as well too, is donate these. As Jay was mentioning, there's people that donate them to soup kitchens and all of that, but they also donate them to the zoos, where they have these, elephants and the big large animals, but especially elephants just love these big pumpkins, and getting to smash them open and tear them apart so that they can eat the insides out and everything. And yeah, that's fun to see as well too. I'm pretty sure you could probably find a video on YouTube somewhere of some um, one of these animals or elephants or something at a zoo, getting to have some fun with these big giant pumpkins. Right on. Yeah, again too, I don't think we're gonna be able to talk with Cindy today on the show. That's really unfortunate. Something must have happened with her phone or technology or something like that. That's really unfortunate. As we get into moving on here pretty soon, when we'll kind of wait here just a few to wait and see when Travis joins in, and then we'll get moving on. But what I want to do real quick is go ahead and take our first break today, and then we'll come back. We'll talk a little bit more before Travis joins us on the show. So I'll be right back here in just one moment. Let's Get Growing is sponsored by IV Organic.
Hi, my name is Charles Malky, biologist and plant expert with Ivory Organics, where we grow cool plants and author Saving the World with the Home Garden. Ivory Organic 3-in-1 Plant Guard has 7 natural oils that protect your plants, not just from the summer heat as well as winter cold, but also protects your plants from damaging insects and rodents. The oils in the product include castor, cinnamon, clove, garlic, peppermint, rosemary, and spearmint. These oils are natural insect and rodent repellent oils, which are encapsulated by the base powder, offering your plants months of protection at a time. 1 application per year will suffice for protection against damaging summer sunburn and winter sun scald, but if the target is pests, application as much as 2 to 3 times a year may be necessary.
Hi everyone, this is Sarah from Sarah's Seed Shop, here with another trivia question. The tradition of carving pumpkins actually began with a different vegetable. So which vegetable was used? A. Turnips, B. Rutabagas, C. Acorn squash, or D. Butternut squash. We'll be back with the answer a little later in the show.
All right, all right. You guys know the answer to Sarah's trivia question this week. Definitely jump into our comments there with your guesses on the answer there. And here in just a few minutes, I should have played that break just a little bit ago, but we'll have our second break and get the answer to that here in just a little bit before we bring Travis onto the show. But yeah, this. I love Sarah's trivia questions. This one again too, I was kind of stumped on. I never really thought about the fact that they might have done pumpkin carving on anything different than a pumpkin. It's just again too traditionally is something that we all kind of know as something that we do with our pumpkins each and every year for the fall season and Halloween and all of that. But yeah, that's a really great question. And again, we'll find a minute to get that back on here before we talk to it. Sorry, I'm getting distracted here. I'm trying to look and check on something, but let's see here what else we got here in the. Let's see here. Bowtie was saying a giant pumpkin boat at our beach sounds like a ton of fun. Let it flood and all. I might be up for that. Yeah. Again, too, it's just something I think it's just so fun, so interesting. I've got to get up there. It's up here in upstate New York somewhere, and I'm gonna have to get out there for that festival. I'm pretty sure that it's gonna be happening here real soon too, as we're getting right now to the height of all of our way offs that are happening all over the country right now. In fact, Cindy, who's been on the show before, I'll just show you guys this here. It's unfortunate that she wasn't able to make it today on to the show with us, but she did. I do follow her on Facebook, and she's got a lot of things going on and everything. Cindy's also a teacher as well too, and teaches a grade school, and has a lot of fun with the kids with all of her giant growing and everything. But she was mentioning through her Facebook throughout this year that most all of her big giants that she had problems with. So there weren't really there were only like, I think, one or two that she had that were only like some of her smaller ones that she had for competition. So I know that she took one up to a competition at a place called Carpenito Brothers, which is just right in Kent, Washington, where I used to actually live for many, many years ago. In fact, I always tell the story about the cucumber. If everybody knows, that's where I grew the cucumber, was up there in Washington. And she brought that one of those pumpkins to the Carpenito Brothers competition, and then she went to another competition and actually won for. And I'll show you this picture of her here. A big giant marrow, which is just like basically a big giant zucchini or something, and she won that category of the competition with that big giant marrow. I mean, again, take a look at that. That's huge. It's about as big as she is altogether for sure. But yeah, I was hoping to be able to talk with her and ask her all about growing that there too, because these one of the things about growing giants as well too. We're going to be talking to Travis, of course, growing these big giant pumpkins, but there's all sorts of other different categories of growing big, fruits and vegetables. Whether it's tomatoes. In fact, there's also growing long gourds, who can grow the longest long gourd or longest carrots, and just all of these sort of big giant fruits and vegetables that are just really kind of amazing to see. And it's really cool. I mean, at least that she was able to get to the top of at least one category this year with that marrow was really kind of cool. Let's see here. And oh yeah, let's see. Oh, I saw something in here. Oh, Connie was saying, yeah, it's neat to feed the elephants. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's really fun to watch them just get in, take this big giant pumpkin and smash into it and tear it apart, with their feet and their trunk and everything. And it's just really cool. Jersey Girl is saying that my chickens love pumpkins. See, there's another great thing too to do with your decorative pumpkins and everything, is to break those up and throw them in with the chickens. If you have chickens, I don't have chickens quite yet. Hopefully that's something we're working on for maybe next year. So that'll definitely be something I could look forward to, feeding some of our big pumpkins to our chickens as well too. Right on. Bowtie Life is saying too that we have a small zoo near our home in Florida. Says I would gladly donate a giant pumpkin to it. Yeah, exactly. That's the way to go too. If you do have any zoos near you and you just want to try and have fun with growing some big pumpkins and all of that, right, what you can do with them at the end of the season. Let's see. Oh, let's see. Where? Oh, welcome Sam to the show as well too. He says first year I have grown pumpkins. I threw 2 in my compost pile from last year, and this spring I had hundreds of pumpkin seedlings. Yeah, exactly. That's the one thing you got to watch. The same thing with me. I threw a bunch of our squash from last season into my back alleyway compost pile, and ended up with tons and tons of different little starts, and was able to transplant a couple of those starts, which ended up being spaghetti squash, and a zucchini squash. So I got a couple of those plants out and transplanted them into another part of our garden. And yeah, it was really kind of cool to see those grow. Again, one of the things that we really love when it comes to gardening are volunteer plants, because they're always great plants. More so if they're, again, I had to transplant those out of our compost pile and all of that. So if it's in your compost pile, you're gonna have to move it, or if you want, you could just let it grow there and not disturb your compost pile for the season as well. But yeah, you're usually going to transplant those out. And again, too, I was really kind of actually worried a bit too about the squash, because um squash are plants that really don't like their roots to be disturbed. And it's one of the reasons why it's always best to kind of really direct sow them into your garden so that they can grow and their roots can just get going without, being either trapped inside of a little pot or a starter pot, where they can start to, just a little bit of root bound is just a disturbance of the roots that they don't really like that much. And then again, transplanting them, we're going to pull them out. So there's definitely going to be a bit of loss of roots there. And these plants did go through some pretty good shock for, a few days. But just after a few days, they kind of really got their composure back and were able to really grow well. And we got several different zucchinis and spaghetti squash off of each of them as well, too. But again, one of my big issues I've got to get taken care of is these squash bugs. Squash bugs are just crazy, unbelievable. And the neighbor, my new owner here, they were trying to do some gardening in the very back area, which we used to garden in years over the years past. And in that back area, she was growing some different squash as well too back there. And we were just having a real fit with all of the squash bugs and everything too. And so it's really, just kind of one of those things. You've got to kind of be able to break the life cycle of these pests. And one of the things I tried to do when I was dealing with squash bugs, because what I did was I skipped last year and kind of hoping I could help kind of break the cycle a little bit. And that didn't seem to work one bit at all. So either I got them coming in from somewhere else, maybe a garden nearby near me as well too, or even maybe even they just find a way to stick around. And so we had just a real problem with them with this year. And again, like in years past, what I did is I went and got like a little small shop vac, not shop vac, but a little hand vac that you can get. And that's one of the things I do once they start showing up and the little ones start showing up, is just vacuum those things up and try to get up underneath there and kill as many of the eggs as possible. But it is so hard to keep up with them once they start populating. They just get going. And again, these plants have so many leaves that it's almost nearly impossible to get up underneath of each and every one of them in order to find all of these little hidden eggs that they have. So yeah, lots and lots of trouble with those as well too. Right on. Let's see here. Going to right on. Everybody's having a great conversation there too. Excellent. Well, let's see here. We're still waiting to see. Again, Travis is on the road. We're hopefully hopefully we'll get a guest today. Actually, is kind of what we'll have to see here for sure. Double checking my messages here. Make sure that it's all right. Yeah, yeah. I was again more so worried about whether or not we were going to be able to get Travis in on the show today, more so. And then starting off without having Cindy today is already got us to a great start with how things are going. And I'm not too sure. about what it might be. So hopefully he's able to get a signal there. And again, we'll just kind of wait it out here for a little bit and see if he shows up here and gets going. Adam says, I lucked out this year with the squash bugs. I haven't seen one. Man, that is so great. That is lucky. I'm hoping that we can do something or figure something out for this next year. They were so bad that I know, they got whatever they do to overwinter or to hold themselves off for this next growing season. We've had so many this year, and it was so hard to kind of, uh, to fight back at them. That I'm sure we're definitely going to be dealing with them again next year, but we're just going to have to go at it a little bit more and see what we can do. And hopefully, like I said, try to break that life cycle somehow. And again, and the one thing that really got me though, like I said, is I skipped a whole year growing, growing squash or pumpkin or anything like that, and didn't have anything. I didn't see any squash bugs or anything because on any of our other plants at all. So I thought we were really, really set to go. So again, they must be just growing somewhere um, on the ones that didn't have anything to eat on or populate on this year out of my garden must have found somebody else's garden last year, and again found their way back to my garden. It's either that or they just have a way of keeping themselves alive for or keep their life cycle going. So I'm not sure really about it, but yeah. Adam says that last year he kept trying to control the squash bugs, but ended up pulling his squash early. Yeah, that's why there's some plants that I actually had to do that with. I mean, once our pumpkin though really kind of got to a certain size and it spread out just enough, and what these pumpkins do is they set out roots wherever wherever their vines are touching the ground. They'll set out new roots, and so that's one of the reasons why if your pumpkins and your squash start growing, it's not really good to pull them up off of the ground, because that'll kind of affect them. That'll also pull back some of their energy as well too, because that's what they're doing. They're digging in for more energy, but that'll help keep the plants growing, because your squash bugs are really going to get started right there at the center, right where at the base of the plant as it's growing out. And that's where they're going to do most all of their damage and everything. And then they'll work their way back. And if you can keep as much of them right there towards the center, keep them back as these plants are growing, and keep an eye on it, some of those new vines will set themselves in, and they'll keep the plant growing. As bad as it looks like it's getting from the center, we were able to maintain some pretty healthy vines off of our pumpkins that you saw in the picture that we shared earlier. And they were able to continue growing and getting, and the plants continuing to pull energy and all of that as well too. So I mean, it got about halfway through the season, the whole center of the plant is just starting to look terrible, but the outside part where the vines that the pumpkins were on actually looked really well still. So as far as that goes. And then I did grow some zucchini plants in some large containers that I was doing an experiment with over on the other side of the alleyway. And one variety didn't hardly get squash bugs until like very late in the season. And this was after I'd already done a bunch of harvesting and pretty much just kind of let them go. And again, because once you get enough zucchini, you get enough zucchini. So I just kind of let the plants go, let them do their thing, and didn't really pay too much attention to them. The other variety, and I have to get the names of these to think about it, because I want to make sure I'm growing that one that was really resistant to them throughout most of the season. So I'm going to regrow that one for next year, and not the other one, because the other one was it's just as I was noticing them on our other squash plants across the alleyway. Those squash bugs made their way over to that one, and they were giving that one just a lot of trouble throughout the growing season. But again, too, these plants just keep vining and growing and putting out more. So even though I had a ton of issues with the squash bugs on there, I was still getting some good fruit off of there and was still able to harvest quite a bit of zucchini off of them. It was a really good experiment. It really worked out well. It would, definitely just be a little bit better without all the squash bugs that we've got to deal with. Let's see here. Connie said, I hope your guests didn't get affected by the hurricanes. Yeah, they're too north for that. The Travis's grows out of Minnesota, and Cindy's up in Washington State. So yeah, no effect from the hurricanes from them, but yeah, definitely probably some sort of issues or something. I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to, let's see here. I'm gonna send a message real quick here and see. Yeah, it's just gonna end up probably just being just a hangout day for us, and we might end up having to reschedule or something for doing this if it gets going much any longer here. Yeah. So again, we'll see what happens here. Sorry, everybody. Mhm. All right. Okay. So maybe we'll see him here in just a minute there. Great suggestion. Try IV organic for the squash bugs. Yeah, I did. I did do some of that as well too. But again, like I said, it's really kind of hard to find and get every one of them all the time. So as much as we were trying all these different measures, uh, we were just having issues with keeping up with just the amount of them when it comes down to it. And again, where we did do it, in fact, where I actually, I was mentioning my neighbors, where we really did do some good, a bit of that was doing that, and really seemed to help out a lot with those ones. And maybe more so that was what was really helping us too with the extended vines that came out that our other pumpkins were growing on, and why those were able to maintain some good healthiness and all of that. But yeah, definitely try some IV organic for that. And we're just gonna have to be more on top of it. I think that's one of the things too, is that we got to them just a little bit late, and they had already started populating. And once they get to a certain population, those eggs can be anywhere and everywhere all over your garden, and maybe even sometimes not necessarily even on the plant itself, or maybe on another plant that's because we've got a lot of stuff, especially in the back area there. A lot of things are growing along with our pumpkins as well too. So I'm sure there were some things that some ways that they were able to hide in there, get away from us, or not be affected by anything that we were spraying, because we probably weren't able to get it right on that spot. And then once that stuff wears off and those eggs start to hatch, they get on again, and just within days they're completely repopulating again too. So again, it got to be such a problem again, where there's a certain point where you just kind of give in and you're like, okay, whatever, when it comes down to it. I take the loss with some of the squash that we were growing and pulled up some of those. We kept the pumpkin, and then those zucchini that were growing across the way. And and one of the ones that actually volunteered out of our compost, which was growing on the other side, we did as well put them on on as well too. So let's see here. Oh well, looks like, all right. Well, let's see what we can do here. Um, I guess we'll just consider it a late start to our show today, and I see we've got Cindy popped in here. So let's go ahead and bring Cindy in real quick and see if we can't get this going here. I gotta check one more thing first before I do. I want to make sure we've got. All right. Okay, so all right, let's go ahead and pop Cindy in real quick. Hello, how's it going? Can you
Hey,
hear me?
good morning. Yeah.
All right, all right. We
Did I
got you.
get the time wrong?
Um, yeah, we were scheduled for.
Oh, man.
It's all right. At least we got you on for a few minutes here before Travis comes on here. Great to see you though. It looks like you're on the road as well too, huh?
Yeah. Yep. Good day out here in Washington, and was gonna take the boat out today.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Right on. Well, at least we get a couple of minutes with you here too to talk a little bit about growing giants this weekend with our so I was been mentioning to everybody in the chat and everything right now that, I follow along with you through Facebook and all of that, and you've been sharing there. So what I kind of understand is it wasn't necessarily your best giant growing year this year, was it?
No, it was my worst ever. I can't wait to put this season behind me. I all four of my competition pumpkins split on me,
Oh
and
man.
um, all I really have to show for it are two puny outdoor plants that
Yeah.
were squash breeding projects. One was my 150 square foot plant,
Yeah.
and then the other one was a squash that I grew out a seed of Medidahos from France, but it got hung up in customs, and so it got to me like 2.5 weeks after I'd already started all my seeds, and so it just nothing worked out well except my marrows this year. I did just kind of last minute
Yeah.
put some marrows starts out in the garden, and I've gotten two good ones. One is weighed in at Bauman's at 120.5, and the other one weighed in at Elysian Brewing Great Pumpkin way off at 127.5.
Oh
And
wow.
so if I could get
I think I
one
do got a
more,
picture here. I think I grabbed this picture.
yeah,
That's one of them right there, right?
yep.
Yeah, the
And then the
120
other
and a half.
one, yep, the other one, the 127 was a real wide load. It looked like an alligator out in my patch. It was so cool. So that was fun. And I've got one more out in the patch to try to make a run at Marrow Grower of the Year. Last year I was Squash Grower of the Year. And in order to
Yeah.
do that, you have to have 3 fruit shown at 3 separate weigh-offs and
Oh, okay.
have the top weight on those 3 fruit. So I did it last year in squash, and if I could do it this year in marrow, and it's going to be a real horse race,
Right.
that would give me just a tiny little glimmer of sunshine in a totally miserable season.
Yikes.
But Tom Trombley, a friend of mine from uh, Michigan, he
Yeah.
put up 3 good marrows this year. And so he's done. And right now it's looking like he could be grower of the year, but I've got my 3rd one left. And so I need to hit 120 to beat Tom out for that title.
Yeah. You think you got it maybe? Does it look like it?
You never know. This thing that's left out in my garden is huge.
Yeah.
It's growing really slowly. It's taking its sweet time to mature. It still has its baby, tacky, light green skin on the sides and at the blossom end. So that's
Yeah.
showing me it still has gas left in the tank. It's not getting its
Right.
hard green knobs like they tend to get when they're matured out. So we'll see. I've got this whole week to get it to way up and then up to weight. And then the last weigh off of the year around here is called Terminator. And that's down in Oregon. And so I'll take it down to Terminator and get a weight on it, and we'll find out.
Oh wow, right on. That's gonna be it'll be awesome to see. So hopefully you do get that for sure. Let's see here. We're having fun with our show today. Right on.
But
So
the
you
pumpkins were
mentioned,
a bust.
yeah, but you did mention again too. You say puny pumpkins, but I'm sure how big were those pumpkins that you did pull out in your 150 square foot garden that you have
That
there?
one was 674 pounds. So I'd much prefer my pumpkin to be 3 times that size. But
Right.
I didn't, since it was a breeding project, I just, my goal there was just to self-pollinate it, and I did not bury vines. The only pruning I did was just to keep it hacked back to maintain its 150 square foot footprint. So it didn't really get a whole lot of care. It was a lovely pumpkin. I was able to, it made me a little bit of money anyway.
Right.
For 9th place at the way off, and then it got the Carver's Choice Award, so made me $1,000. So that
Oh, right on.
took a little bit of sting out of my season, not much though.
No doubt, right?
It was
Exactly.
really tough going to weigh-offs this year. I mean, I like going to weigh-offs and seeing my friends. It's a big part of my year.
Yeah.
But it is tough showing up without a pumpkin, just a zucchini, basically.
Right,
It's not how
exactly.
I like to roll.
Yeah, but sometimes I guess that's just the sort of thing that we got to deal
Yeah,
with when we're
and
gardeners. Some seasons just don't turn out the way we hope they will.
I know I had to remind myself all the time toward the end here, this happens to the best growers in the world, and it does. And I've been growing for, I think, 13 years, and I've never lost all my giants before. And it does happen to the best growers in the world, and so
Yeah.
it was my turn, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, I guess it was just your turn. Yeah, again, too, so unfortunate. Let's see here. I have a question for you from Bowtie Life in the Garden. What is top advice for new growers to raise giant produce?
I think getting your soil tested would be good advice so that you know what you're working with. And if you don't know how to amend your soil from that soil test, there are some really wonderful people out there in the giant pumpkin community who will help you do that. There's a couple good Facebook groups like Backyard Giant Pumpkin Growers or Garden of Giants, where um, experienced growers, if you put that plea for help out there, will help you. I mean, that's what the whole intent of that. Also, to join one of your local pumpkin clubs where some of the growers can help you. So that getting your soil tested, having someone help you interpret that, amending accordingly, and trying to find some really good high quality compost is like paramount. But then you can't stop there. You have to get your hands on some good seeds. And as we're approaching winter, that's when all the giant pumpkin clubs are going to be having online seed auctions. And so there's going to be some great deals out there with some of the top seeds in the world, proven performers, which are going to go for a lot of money, and brand new seed stocks that are unproven, which are great bargains. And if you go onto bigpumpkins.com throughout every weekend in the winter, all these clubs worldwide are hosting these seed auctions. And if you just sign up, get an account on Big Pumpkins, you can bid, and you're helping the community because you're helping those clubs, which are putting on these weigh-offs. And that's a great thing.
Yeah. All right, let's see here. Oh, Jersey Girl is asking, how do you deter, say, do you have problems with vine borers or squash bugs or these other sort of things?
No, I live in the Pacific Northwest, and thank goodness we do not have
Mhm.
any of that. We've got aphids and cucumber beetles, striped and spotted cucumber beetles, and they're pretty easy to deal with. So those are my biggest pests, and I typically use like imidacloprid and as a contact, not as a drench, because I know that it can kind of hurt the worms. And I also use Avid. That seems to be a good insecticide for my issues, but thank goodness no borers over here.
Yeah, yeah. I was just talking with everybody about our issue.
The
I don't
people,
get borers, but I get
yeah,
the squash bugs, and those things are just
my
monsters.
friends who live in the Midwest and back east, um, and don't want to spray a lot of chemicals, they've had really good success with making greenhouses. And so
Yeah.
they use screens to keep them out. And it offers also a little bit of shade protection too, which I think is nice for the giant pumpkins.
Right on. Yeah. And one of the things I was going to ask about, and you also kind of touched on this a little bit too, is that one of the things that uh, about these competitions and all of that too is that you guys are also competing for some prizes too, right? These pumpkins are
Yeah.
really worth some good amount of money, aren't they?
Oh yeah, it's a good side hustle. I I claim everything and report everything on my taxes and have like declared my property like a farm so that
Uh,
I can write things off. And so this is probably going to hurt me this year,
oh
not
my.
not having prize money and whatnot. And so I probably won't even claim anything. But yeah, typically on a just a normal year where I win one or two way offs, and then place, pick up prize money and maybe sell a pumpkin or two. I'd say my average is $13,000 a year. That's what I've,
Right.
in earnings, and so that
That
is kind of a nice side hustle,
yeah, it sure is.
especially if you're not reinventing the wheel every year.
Mhm.
You don't have a lot of overhead. Like this year, I spent a lot of money on new and different approaches to fertilizing. I spent a lot of money on biologicals, um, and and then organic fertilizers instead of like the salts. And those tend to be a little more expensive. But I didn't have to buy new plastic for my greenhouses. I didn't have to um, spend a bunch of money, rebuilding greenhouses or anything like that.
Mhm.
I had T-tape already. And so if you don't have to, if you already have the infrastructure there and just need to buy some ferts, then that makes it really nice when you actually do win prize money and sell your pumpkins.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really great. Yeah, again, too, really, that's a good amount of money to be making growing some pumpkins. That's really nice. How many competitions in a usual year are you attending?
4 to 5. Yeah, usually 4 or 5. We've got our premier one here in Washington called Carpenito Brothers.
Yeah.
I had won that the previous 2 years. Um, that's a $6,000 top prize. So that's Washington's biggest competition. And then Oregon's premier way off, which is just about 2 hours away from me, is Bauman Farms. And that's about the same amount of money. And so it's always nice to get a win there or even second place. And you pick up a couple of wins like that and you're in good shape
Have
for
you have you
next
taken
year.
any down to, like, California, the Half Moon Bay?
Yeah. Yeah, last year I did not go to Half Moon Bay because my goal last year was to be the squash grower of the year, and Half
Yeah,
Moon Bay won't take squash. And I
right.
tried to talk them into it, but they weren't having it. But I did take a squash down there and won the squash prize at the Hard Rock Bishop's Way Off that that's in California. That was the new way off that replaced the Nut Tree site.
Yeah.
And that was a really nice event. And that was the one that Jim Sherwood down in Oregon, he took a pumpkin there and won. So we have a really mobile network of growers here in the Pacific Northwest between Washington and Oregon, and we do always send delegations of growers down to Oregon to Half Moon Bay. I would say, until Travis came along, the Pacific Northwest pretty much owned Half Moon Bay.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
if you look at the roster of winners, the majority are from the Pacific Northwest, Washington and Oregon.
Right on. Yeah, yeah, that's it's really great to see all of those. And I was mentioning to everybody as well too. I used to live up in Kent, where Carpenuto Brothers
Yeah,
out of right there too. So I never did get a chance to go check out any of those competitions. I wish I had, but
it's
that would have been fun
new.
to see.
They bought a pumpkin from me for carving, and I was talking to a couple of the brothers, and I'm like, if you guys just hold a pumpkin way off, you can keep all the pumpkins you want from your way off, because the sponsor has that right.
Yeah.
And then you can have a big display, you can have some for carving, some just on display. So this was just their third annual way off at
Okay.
Carpenitos.
All right, yeah, because I was like, I don't know if I remember seeing that they had done that before, but yeah, that's really great. So yeah, you helped them along with getting that going, and now they're the biggest competition in
Yeah,
Washington
and
State.
what was nice about that was we really didn't have very good prize money at all here in Washington. We had a lot of way offs, but they were all pretty small prize money. And so if you had a good pumpkin, you would take it down to Oregon to Bauman's, or keep on going south to California, where they pay, $9 a pound down there. And so when I was able to get Carpenitos on board as a GPC site, what happened was one of the other way offs, the Elysian Brewery Great Pumpkin Way Off, they upped their game because they knew they had to compete to get some big pumpkins for their festival that they have.
Yeah, yeah.
So it,
So
it really helped all the growers. I mean, we put so much time and energy and resources into growing a giant pumpkin, and it's so hard to get one to the finish line that money in most cases for people just helps them to break even. And so it was really nice when Carpenito came on board and kind of raised the bar for
yeah,
what growers should be getting for the fruits of their labor.
yeah, that's really great. And we had a question earlier we were all talking about too, is are giant pumpkins still good to eat, or are they tough?
They're not tough. They're just, I've tried cooking with one because everyone's asked me that, and so
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought, well, I'll
Sure, that's a
find out.
common question.
Yeah, that is one of the more common questions. They they taste okay, but they were just, the texture wasn't right. They're kind of watery. Those cells are, you know, they're designed to gorge themselves on water, and so maybe if you just baked it and baked it and baked it till it really dried out, the consistency would be better. I don't know. I think it's
Sure.
easier to pop open a can or get a sugar pie pumpkin. I mean,
Right.
well, it wasn't that great, and the color was off too. They're very
Yeah.
light fleshed, and so no
Mhm.
one wanted to eat my pumpkin pie that year at Thanksgiving because it was so like whitish yellow. It wasn't,
Right.
that pretty brown, you know, baked
Yeah.
looking typical
Right, for
pie.
sure. And you
Yeah.
mentioned too, though, that you sold that pumpkin to Carpenito Brothers. I'm sure some people can sell these big giants and all of that, but have you ever like donated to one of the local zoos there? Like I've seen
No,
that before.
I haven't, but I have a friend, Larry Nelson, who lives in Oregon, and he grows big pumpkins. And right now, he's growing them mostly for fun with his grandkids. But he often, for the last, I don't know, 5-6 years, has donated them down to the Oregon Zoo, and the elephants just love
Yeah,
them, and they like to smash them and eat them,
yeah.
and they always have that on the news. Even up here, Larry's pumpkins getting smashed by elephants.
Yeah,
But
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I know
I
I've
haven't
seen
done
some
it.
video. I've seen some video of elephants having fun with them before. That would be a great thing to do with them if you were just growing them for fun or competing with them and you didn't have anything else to do. Let the elephants have fun stomping on them and all that, and I'm sure it's just really great for the kids.
Oh yeah, and then the one consideration that people need to think about, though, if they were endeavoring to do that, would be to make sure you're growing them um, with chemicals that are labeled for cucurbits, because like we have a way off here, the Elysian way off, where after the way off they tap the pumpkins and put
Yeah.
beer in them for a festival, and then
Oh,
after that's over the pumpkins go and feed some cows, and
alright.
so we have to sign waivers attesting that everything we grew that pumpkin with was labeled for pumpkins. And
Okay, yeah.
you're not, like a lot of growers will use merit, for example,
Mhm.
either as a contact or as a drench, and that, from my understanding, isn't labeled for giant pumpkins, and so you wouldn't want to put animals or people in danger by so
Yeah.
you'd have to go into your season knowing that's what you were going to do, and take care of your pumpkins accordingly.
Right, yeah, you definitely don't wanna be utilizing chemicals that aren't safe for anybody or anything too. I never heard of that one either though, is, tapping them and putting beer in them. That's a kind of a fun thing, I suppose, to do with them.
Yeah, so that way off here in Washington, they have the way off one weekend. It's up in Seattle, and then the next weekend they have what's called the Great Pumpkin Beer Festival.
Oh,
And I'm not really into that so much, but it
yeah,
seems like a lot of people come out for it in Seattle. It's a big street party, and they've got
yeah.
some professional carvers there, and the beer is flowing out of these pumpkins, and they raise a lot of money for charities with that festival.
Man, I just can't imagine, and I don't drink either myself, so I'm like, I don't I can't imagine what it would taste like though, so I'm sure everybody likes it if they keep doing it though.
Yeah, that Elysian Brewery, they put out like some seasonal beers, and some of them are like pumpkin flavored, and so it kind of goes with their seasonal menu.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it just kinda makes sense if that's what you're gonna do there. Have you ever attended the, what is it, the Giant Pumpkin Regatta here in Oregon?
Yeah, so I'm going to be taking my squash down,
Yeah,
and that will be next weekend. The way off is called Terminator, and that's Saturday, and that'll be at the Stickman Brewing Brew House. And then
okay.
Sunday is the regatta, and so I have been in that regatta several times. And
Yeah,
this year, I'm getting my costume put together, and
yeah.
I've got a good idea. So I'll be the one in the green squash, and
Oh,
I'll be
excellent.
dressed as because we all dress up like
Yeah.
Halloween when we're racing the pumpkins. I'll be dressed as Ray Gun. Do you know who Ray
Oh,
Gun
yeah,
is?
yeah, yeah.
The
From the
Australian
Olympics.
the Australian Olympic break
I'm
dancer. Yeah.
I'm sure that that's gonna probably be one of the most popular costumes this Halloween, right?
That's what I was thinking too. She was pretty iconic. Um,
Yeah.
and I always like to do a couple funny pictures,
Yeah, that's
at
one thing
the
I
end of the
love
growing.
about your Facebook each year is to see all the different things that you come up with in the patch for your, Halloween pictures. They're great.
Thank you. Yeah, I did that. Yusuf, that Turkish sharpshooter guy from the
Oh, yeah.
Olympics,
Maybe
with my
yeah,
150 square foot pumpkin. And then I only have the two small ones. And so do ray gun. And then I'll stick my Olympic rings. I've got about a 6 foot spread of Olympic rings that I made. I'll stick that in the back of my squash, and then I'll be in the front paddling. And It'll be a good speedboat. Normally, when I show up at Terminator, I've got a big pumpkin, and it's hard to paddle, something that is that big. It's like trying to paddle an aircraft carrier. But this one is probably around 650 pounds or so, and it'll be good and fast.
Yes.
Speaking of paddling and going good and fast, one of our club members, Gary Christensen, has won that regatta a few years in a row now. He is a good paddler. Today, he is in Oregon at Bonneville, and he is launching his giant pumpkin that he grew into the water, and he's attempting to set the Guinness World Record for longest paddle in a pumpkin boat. And I
Oh,
think
wow.
he's going to do it because he is a good pumpkin paddler, and he's pretty driven and competitive like that. And he's got a great shaped pumpkin. He initially, when it was younger, he set up boards as forms to kind of make it a little more aerodynamic, more boat-like.
Oh, wow.
And yeah,
Yeah,
so
just
he's launching this
purposely
morning.
shaped it out for it. That's great. That's a
Yeah,
good idea if that's what your intention is to
yeah.
be in that regatta, right?
It got bigger than what he was hoping for.
Yeah.
It was a pretty big pumpkin for him. He just grows in his yard in town, in Oregon. And trying to think, I think he lives in Lake Oswego area. And he hauls it in a trailer that he made with his Tesla. So it's
Yeah.
very much an urban pumpkin. But yeah, I'm rooting for him today to get that Guinness World Record.
Is it a record that's been set before, something he's gonna break, or is he
Yes.
setting a record?
No, it has been set a few times. I want to say since I've been growing, like 4 times.
Wow.
Of another friend of mine and club member, who doesn't grow anymore, Charity Marshall, she had broken it and held it for a while by floating her pumpkin down the Cowlitz River and paddling it. And then someone broke that maybe like twice already. And so he's gonna try to really break it this time so it can stand for a while.
Is it a distance or time thing?
It's a distance. It's in
Okay.
miles. Yeah.
Wow, that's really great. Yeah, and I was gonna ask about that too, though, as far as that goes too. These pumpkins can really hold up then. They as far as, you gotta get inside of them yourself, right? So, I mean, like, the
Yes. And
bottoms and all of that, I mean, they hold up well?
they do hold up well. They float great. And so typically when they put it in the water, you roll it around and roll it around, and you try to see how it's going to float best. And
Yeah.
generally speaking, they're going to float best upside down with their flat bottom as the point of entry for you. That's what you're going to carve out to sit in. And then the bottom of the pumpkin would be the round part, that was exposed to the sun. And I would say in paddling a giant pumpkin, you want one, for someone my size, around 600 pounds. 600 is probably ideal. And then the worst part is you're in there on your knees, and you just kind of cramp up. There's not a lot of room. I
Right.
mean, and so you're kind of sliding in there a little bit because it's
Gets
slick,
slick. Yeah.
and you're on your knees, and so that I would not want to be in a pumpkin for hours paddling. I mean, going once around the Lake of the Commons in Tualatin is about as much as I care to
Yeah.
do. One year I had a pumpkin that was a bird bath. It looked like a giant bean bag. It was
Wow.
huge. We couldn't even fit it in the back of the truck. It was so wide. And it was just a pancake, and it grew blossom up. So I didn't even carve the thing out. I just sat in the middle of that and got my legs got to stretch out, and I was
Oh, wow.
paddling it, and I needed a long paddle for that one because it was so wide. But that was the most comfortable. It wasn't fast, but it was very comfortable. I just got to sit on it like, a beanbag chair, and
Yeah.
it floated along perfect.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask next, though, too, because you said 5 or 600 pounds is a good size, but is there kind of like a limit? Like, is it getting into 1,000 or so? Is that
They
too
don't want
big?
2,000 pounders.
Yeah.
And there have been 2,000 pounders on the lake before. The
Yeah.
biggest one I ever paddled was almost 1,900 pounds. That thing was
Yeah.
so slow.
Yeah.
Really, there's no holds barred in that race. One year, a couple of friends of mine, Ron Barker and Jack LaRue, we decided we had grown a bunch of field pumpkins that year, some really
Mhm.
big ones. And we thought, oh, it'd be so fun to do something new. And so we made a flotilla of field pumpkins in a cargo net, just a
Yeah.
huge amount of field pumpkins. And then I made a big Viking hole to go around them out of cardboard, and I put shields on there, and then we dressed as Vikings. And I'm like, well, geez, you guys, this is a great idea, but how in the world are we gonna paddle this thing? Even with three of us, this seems a
Yeah.
little sketchy. And so Ron's just like, oh, well, I'll bring my trolling motor. And there are no
Yeah.
rules. They just suggest don't have a 2,000-pound pumpkin,
Oh, I
because
was gonna say,
after
yeah.
after the growers heat, there are 3 or 4 more heats where they've got like the firefighters and versus the police officers. They might have a heat of other city dignitaries. They've got the public heat where people put in for a lottery, and so they want to give people a chance to actually race, and
Oh,
so
wow.
you don't want too big of a pumpkin. But anyway, we did this flotilla of field pumpkins because there are no rules.
Yeah.
And so Ron brought his trolling motor, and we got it hooked up and everything, and we're getting out there in the water. We're at the starting line, and I'm like, you guys, here's the deal. I can't hardly swim. So let's get this motor fired up, because it seems like we're getting lower and lower in the
Oh,
water. And
oh
so
my.
Ron's like, I'm trying. I'm like, well, Ron, what's going on? He's like, oh, I forgot to charge my battery.
Oh,
So
no.
we had to paddle this thing. I mean, it was just a mess. It started getting lower and lower in the water. Maybe they spread out in that net. Next thing you know, the Viking ship, which is made of, a couple refrigerator boxes, is just soaking wet. It's falling apart all over the lake. The shields are coming off. And
Oh, my.
we never did get the motor fired up. And so Jack and I are just like paddling for all we're worth to get around the lake before the thing just completely falls apart on us. And
Right.
we're in last place. Meanwhile, Ron's just sitting in the back, no oar, no paddle, like he's on some kind of pleasure cruise. We made the front page of the newspaper down there, and there's Jack and I with just these, this look of consternation on our faces. We're trying so hard, and Ron's just back in the back smiling. It's,
That's just
uh,
great. So much
yeah,
fun. I gotta get up there and check that out. I was mentioning
it,
that to everybody a little bit
it
earlier.
has
It
turned
seems like
into
a lot of
such
fun.
a huge, festival.
Yeah.
Lots of activities there for everybody. And the first year I tried it, there were a fair amount of people out watching, but anymore, the entire lake, it was like all of Portland came out and lined the shores of that lake, and they're cheering you on and ringing their cowbells and everything.
That's great. Yeah, I get so I'm gonna have to mark my calendar for next year for sure to do that. So, you're gonna be gearing up again here real soon to get started up for next year and
I am. I'm going to go to Virgin Ground. So I've been rotating. I've got 3 different patch areas. I've got the auxiliary patch, which is right by my house. And
yeah.
then I've got, one against one fence line and one against another fence line. Next year, I'm going out in the middle of my horse pasture, total virgin ground, and see if I can make up for this year. And so I've been watching the weigh offs. I spent a little bit of money last winter at the pumpkin auctions buying some unproven seeds the last couple of years, actually, that have proven out really well.
Oh, great.
And they've grown some whoppers, and I got them for bargain basement prices. And then some friends who had grown some pumpkins, and I got seeds from them, and they've done well this year. And so I feel like I've got some good seeds, and when you look at what's won this year, it's just such a variety. I mean, there's no like standout seed, no silver bullet that everyone's got to have. It's a testament to the fact that, you know, you can grow giants with, you know, so many of these seeds. There are just so many good pedigrees out there. And so I'm excited to get my soil test back. I'm going to be most likely putting some lime down in the very near future because my soil tends to be pretty acidic, like in the upper 5s. Try to get that a little bit closer, pushing 7.
Yeah.
And then last year I spent a lot of time making compost all fall and winter, turning it with my tractor. And I'm kind of trying to figure out a plan for that this year, what I want to do with that. I've got a friend who always gives me maple leaves, organic ones, you know, not sprayed. And so I'll be able to incorporate those, you know, by either making some more compost or just putting them directly on my patch. The one thing I kind of am regretful for when my pumpkins went down, 2 of those patches I cleaned out right away and I got those vines out onto the compost pile. 2 of the patches, one I tried to do another pumpkin. I pollinated it and it was like the 3rd attempt and eventually it went down. The other one went down and I was just like, I'm done with these things. And I didn't clean the patch out. And so now, you know, they're all cleaned out as of yesterday. And there were so many, those leaves weren't good. You know, I cut the water off to them. So they got powdery mildew. They got aphids really bad. And I'm kind of thinking, I don't know that I want to put, you know, I'm going to turn all that, but I don't want to put it on next year. I think I'm going to turn it for a couple of years before I even think about using that because that was you know, I don't want to reintroduce that stuff into my patch, especially on good virgin ground. But one of those patches was a no-till patch. That was my big experiment this year. And I was so happy with that soil. It was just a bad genetic seed. It was Travis's 2560, but I didn't get it, you know, every pumpkin's got some, you know, silver bullets, some good seeds and some not so good ones. This one every pumpkin I put on it, and I tried 3, just wanted to split. It wasn't me. It was just the luck of the draw on that. But I loved that soil so much. That was such a healthy plant. I mean, the worms were so abundant. I introduced a lot of worms, like the red wigglers and the European night crawlers in there to improve the tilth. Another thing I did in that patch, because I couldn't spray it because I didn't want to do anything that would, you know, upset the biology since it was a no-till patch. Was I mulched that plant with hay. And I noticed in my tomato patch that putting that flakes of grass hay mulch around the plants really did wonders for the soil. And so I did that in that no-till, and there were no weeds in there. It was so nice. The worms, you'd lift up that hay and they'd be down there having a party. And it kept the moisture and, you know, just very even. It kept the temperature very even. And so I'm not going to grow pumpkins on there because I need to rotate off of that, but I'm going to keep it no-till, and I'm going to put some giant tomatoes on there next year. One of my friends, Jay Yowie out of Pennsylvania, he went no-till this year with his tomatoes, and he had an incredible season. He was for a couple of years just trying to hit 5 pounds, and now he's got like, you know, over 8 pounds. And so, and that was just for his first year going no-till. And so I'm excited to see what might happen with that, with the tomatoes next year.
Yeah, because that was one of the things I was also going to mention too. I mean, we did briefly talk about the marrow that you grew, but you grow all these other types of stuff as well too, because, you know, I think in one of our first conversations we had, we were talking about your, what was it, the Master Gardener record that you broke?
Yeah.
That takes growing several different varieties of things, right?
Yeah, to do Master Gardener, which is a GPC contest, you have to get 5 giants to the scale. And so I did it 3 years in a row. The first year I tried it, I was second place. And then
Yeah.
the next year I set the world record at first place. And then the next year I was first place again. And then I was just like, this is too much for me.
It's a
3
lot of work.
years, it's a marathon. Yeah, you've got
Yeah.
to have your timing just right to be competitive. You've got to hustle and get the best seeds in the world for all the categories.
Yeah.
The weather really has to cooperate, and it's just a lot of work. I spent, some time this year enjoying other things, like
Yeah.
hiking,
Well,
backpacking,
I
and
do
whatnot.
remember that your score on your record was quite a bit more than even the second place score when you broke that. Has
Yeah.
anybody else gotten close to that or
Oh
broken
yeah.
your record since?
No, but this year, my friend Tom, who I was talking about earlier here in the show,
Yeah.
from Michigan, he's already broken it. He's done. He blew it out of the water. So
Oh,
unless
wow.
someone is going to be weighing some stuff today, I
Yeah.
think Tom Trombley out of Michigan, and I haven't looked at everyone's, but I do know that he has he's going to have an amazing score with a new world record. And a lot of people have told me and complained, well, you can't be the master gardener unless you grow a squash. And that certainly helps to grow a squash because your scores are based on the 95th percentile for the all the weights. And so
Yeah.
because not a lot of people in the world have grown enormous squash, if you can grow an enormous squash, then you're going to get a good score. And so anyway, Tom didn't have a squash this year. He had a heck of a marrow, an
Yeah.
amazing bushel gourd, number 1 in the world last I checked. I believe number 1 in the world for field pumpkin last I checked. Yesterday, he just grew weighed a 2,200 pound pumpkin. He had a good long gourd, and he had almost 8-pound tomato. And
Oh,
so,
wow.
he had an incredible season. Didn't grow a squash. And I always thought too, to beat my Master Gardener World Championship, it would have to be a team of people because I never worked so hard in my life for anything as when I got that score. And you
Yeah.
can do it as a team, which doesn't quite seem fair to me. But I thought if anyone's going to beat it, it'd be like, husband, wife, or, a team of 2
Yeah.
growers working in the same patch. He did it on his own, and he's just the nicest guy. So,
That's awesome.
it was awesome. He had the best year ever, and really deserves it. And so that'll be. I don't know that I'm ever going to want to try it again because it is so much. It is so much work. My big goal right now is to see if I can get the Washington state record back for pumpkin, and so I'll keep trying.
What's the weight on that?
2363 is the current. And so, I got to be 2363.5.
Oh, wow. You can do it. I'm sure
I know.
if anybody can do it, you can do it for sure. Definitely. Right on. Well, Cindy, thank you again so much for jumping on and taking some time today to be with us. I did want to say real quick though, too, I was cheering you on for your competition you were in
I
recently and
know.
helping
Thank you.
vote. I was really bummed that you didn't make it that next round and all that. But
Yes.
man, congratulations for getting so far anyways, though.
It was fun rallying all these people. And man, it literally came down to the last second. Someone took a screenshot of the last second with that little timer at the bottom, and all of a sudden it said second place. And you don't know who was able to squeeze in some votes there at the end for either one of us. And it didn't go my way that time, unfortunately. That's kind of my year this year, though.
Right.
I'll get them next year.
That's right. That's right. Just kind of take it as that's just the year it is, and then re-gear up for next year and go after it. Right.
Yeah. I'll
Break
just
that
have
Washington
to
record and
Yeah.
other records as well too. So yeah. So
Yeah, it was a
now that you've
hiking
got it
year.
out of the way, though,
Yeah,
too, that's all you got to look forward to now is even more success.
I hope so.
Right on. Well, thanks again, Cindy, so much for joining with us today and taking your time out of your day and on your trip there and sharing with us today about growing these giants and all of that. And again, we'll have to have you back on pretty soon, talk more all about it. So thank you again.
You're welcome anytime. Have a good day.
You too. Thank you. Hey, gardeners, thanks for tuning in to our show today. We'll be right back at it here in just a moment. I just wanted to take a second here to highlight our regular videos and features here on the Urban Gardener channel. Our weekly garden journals, and our incredible featured visits.
The answer to this week's trivia question is A. During their annual Samhain festival, the Irish would carve faces and cavities into their turnips, placing candles in the cavities to make lanterns. Though turnips were their vegetable of choice, they would sometimes use other root veggies as well: potatoes, radishes, and even beets. Thanks for watching. Head over to Sarah's Seed Shop where you can find garden seeds at unbeatable prices. Enjoy the rest of the show and have a great day.
All right, all right. Did you get the answer to the question right? I mean, I didn't. I was kind of wondering there. I knew maybe that the hint really was vegetable versus fruit. So that's kind of I don't know if that's what you guys noticed as well too. But another great question there from Sarah from Sarah's Seed Shop at sarahseedshop.com. Definitely go there and check out what she's got available for seeds as you're planning your next year's garden. She's got lots of great essential seeds there that you can get for very inexpensive. I'm telling you, she's probably got the best deal out there as far as any seed seller out there, and you're going to get not just a good price on the seeds that you're getting, but she gives you a great amount of them as well too. So definitely go over there and check out Sarah's Seed Shop and help support a great young entrepreneur and help her grow her seed company out. We love to see all of those folks who help us out here on the show get some support too. So thank you so much for all of you who go over there and shop there at Sarah's Seed Shop. So, all right, as I said, this is going to be, and I was wondering too, whether or not this was going to be kind of the case for our show today. And it ended up being the case. It's a live show and all of that too. So again, unfortunately, as we were talking with Cindy there, we ran into some issues with being able to have Travis on the show. So what we're going to have to do is hopefully reschedule and get him on again here soon, real soon. And then again, we'll hopefully get him on, and then we'll be able to talk about what his new pumpkin got weighed off on at the Half Moon Bay weigh off competition in California there that he's on his way to today. So yeah, so maybe that'll be kind of the better part of our upcoming interview if we can get him back on after he gets back and returns from that competition and see whether or not he broke that record or not too. So we'll keep an eye out on that, and then we'll also try to make some plans to get him on here in the next few weeks. So, but again, too, really kind of great to catch up with Cindy there and talk all about what she's had growing on this year. Maybe it wasn't the best year for growing and all of that, but she's a really great grower. As we mentioned, world record master gardener, and has done so many great things in growing giants and all of that too. So we look forward to maybe talking to Cindy again down the road next year as well, and see what she gets growing on and how things turn out for her as well too. So in the long run, we got to have a nice little conversation before the show got really going, and then we still got to talk with Cindy. So just another great opportunity for us to talk with some really great people here on the show. So thank you all so much for hanging out with me and hanging out along here. I know there were a couple of questions that came in too as we were kind of running out of time there. So what we'll do is I'll kind of write these down, and I'll save these questions for when we bring Travis back on too, and we'll talk about this too, because this was a really good question. Do you think there's any science research studies that could help improve techniques for giant growing? So that'll definitely be a great question. I'm going to write that down, and I'll save that for sure. So you'll want to join with me and keep an eye out for when we're able to reschedule Travis to be on the show. So hopefully, we've got some dates coming up that might work out, and I'll get with him and see if we can't get that done. So also, Jay put in a reminder here. I just wanted to also mention as well too, because tomorrow's Sunday is the second Sunday of the month. And what we've done throughout the whole gardening season this year is we would have Gardener Scott on to talk about and answer all of your gardening questions on our second Sunday of each month. But Scott's out traveling and getting to visit family and all of that too this weekend. And so he won't be joining with us for our show tomorrow. Again, we're here every Saturday and Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Tomorrow's show, we're going to have with us Ryan Cook from Heavenly Hills Homestead and his friend Jason Covey, and we're going to get and talk about more on growing giants. In fact, I'll write that question down and ask them as well tomorrow too, and we'll talk about it as well too. Ryan's been on the show before here, and we've talked all about his state records. He's set state records in growing all sorts of different giants, similar to what Cindy's done, with many different things growing. He grows many different things as well too, and his friend Jason Covey is a great giant grower too. So we're going to get to dig in a bunch more tomorrow for our Sunday roundtable, so you won't want to miss that as well. So also I did want to mention too, for those we usually mention when we have Gardener Scott on the show for our second Sunday of the month, we mentioned that he has his live stream on Monday mornings. Every Monday morning he gets up and answers all of your gardening questions too. And he won't be doing that as well this weekend for anybody who might be thinking about that too as well. So again, we'll get with him real soon. We'll have him back next month. We'll get back to answering all of your garden questions. He'll get back to doing his on Monday, and everything will get right back to normal here real soon, as it's just a really unnormal time for us here today on the show. Real quick, I did want to show this though, because I did load up this picture and show you this. This is the pumpkin that Travis is traveling right now on the back of his truck to Half Moon Bay. This is Rudy, his pumpkin there too. So again, we'll have to reschedule and have him back on the show here real soon and talk all about whether or not he broke his record with this pumpkin. I mean, it's a monster. I mean, look at that thing. Unbelievable. I mean, to break that record last year at 22,749 pounds, that one looks like it could give that one some competition. So we'll definitely have to kind of look forward to maybe seeing about that for sure. And then again, too, remember, oh, wait here, actually put this up. This is for our Sunday edition tomorrow, as we are on, again, like I said, every Saturday and Sunday. On the show, we will have Heavenly Hills Homestead and Jason Covey with us. Yeah. And also, I want to mention to everybody again that we will be back here again. Like I said, we are here every Saturday. Let me put this one up. Every Saturday and Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern time. And next week, I'm really looking forward to next week's show. I met down at the National Heirloom Exposition Dr. Jeff Pierce. Dr. Jeff Pierce did a talk with our good friend John Kohler down at the Heirloom Exposition. And after listening to that talk, I was like, you know what? We got to get you on the show. We've got to talk about this sort, the sort of things that he was talking about there, garden and lifestyle medicine. And he's a board certified family doctor, general practitioner, and other things as well too. So this is we're going to talk to a real doctor next week about the benefits we get right out of our own gardens when it comes to garden and lifestyle medicine. So again, to come and join with us next Saturday so we can and we'll talk to Dr. Jeff Pierce. And we'll also be following Yasmin from MCR Urban Gardener out of the UK. And Yaz she's also called as well too, is also knows and is friends with Jason from the Cloud Gardener, who we've had on the show a couple of different times as well too. So it's gonna be really fun to talk to Yaz and talk all about the alleyway gardens and the different gardening things that she does there in the UK as well too. So we're having another great show lined up for next Saturday. And also, as I mentioned too, next Sunday is the third Sunday of the month, and that will be our monthly book club with Ashley Thomas, the Mocha Gardener. She'll be joining with us to talk all about her great book. And I mean, this is just a really amazing book, How to Become a Gardener. So if you're a new gardener and you want to learn just a little bit more about the gardening and all of that, you want to check out her book, and you'll want to come and check out our show next Sunday so that you can visit with and check out our interview with Ashley Thomas, and maybe even ask her some questions of your own as well too. So again, we'll have another great weekend coming up next weekend. And also, before we go to, just one more plug for our special Halloween hangout live stream that we'll be having here on Halloween at about 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern. And we'll be watching The Little Shop of Horrors, the original 1960s classic. And then we'll have some great discussion along with that as well too, for a fun Halloween hangout. And then we'll also, if everybody wants to continue hanging out just a little bit later into the evening, we will also watch a really great fun theatrical version of The Little Shop of Horrors as well too. And that one's kind of more like the movie that we all remember from the 1980s with Rick Moranis and Steve Martin and all of that. But it's really fun, a really great musical. And so I really encourage all of you to go to our YouTube page and click that notify button there for that upcoming live stream, so you won't miss out on that as well too, because that's a really fun hangout. You don't want to miss out on that. If you're just hanging out, handing out treats to the kids, you might as well be hanging out with all of us as well too. So again, we got lots and lots of great things coming up here on the show. And again, thank you all so much for hanging out with me today. Again, we ended up just kind of having more of a casual discussion today about talking about giants and all of that. And then luckily we were finally able to get Cindy on the show here and have a really fun discussion with her as well too. So again, lots and lots of great things to come here on the show. So definitely join with us tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific time. And as well too, if you are here with us at the end of the show, definitely click that thumbs up if you haven't already. Hit the like button there, as well as the subscribe button, and hit the bell notification too, so that you can be notified of all of our upcoming live streams and videos, as I got some videos I'm working on as well too. So we'll hopefully get those coming out real soon as well too. So if you hit that bell notification, you will be notified of everything that we have coming out. And then definitely share with all of your friends and help us get the word out about this really fun show. Let's get growing here. We'd really love to have more and more people join with us each and every weekend. I think, one thing too is that, there's a lot of gardeners out there. I know there's a lot of live stream watchers as well too, that if we get the word out and find a way to get them to know about all of this. I know we can get some more people join with us in our conversation and our weekly chat that we have here on the show. So there's a lot of people I know that are just missing out on this just really fun time that we have here each and every weekend. So let's help make sure that we can get the word out there to everybody. And again, thank you all so much. Join and check out all of our links down in the description below. And also, too, I mentioned here at the each and every end of each and every show is to come and join with us in our Facebook group, the Let's Get Growing group. I love to see what you all have growing on in your garden. So it's a great way to be able to continue the conversation and share those things that you've got growing on in your garden with me, so I can see all of those fun things that you have growing on. So definitely come join and contribute to our Let's Get Growing show. And also, too, a couple of weeks back, I did mention that I am doing a free seed giveaway of our Prax cherry tomato seeds. So we do have plenty of free seeds to give out to everybody. If you want to get some of those seeds and grow one of my favorite tomatoes in your garden, then definitely send me an email at letsgetgrowing@mail.com. Let's Get Growing at mail, not Gmail, but at mail.com. And then I will give you some information about getting some of these seeds out to you as well, too. So I look forward to hearing from you all. And as well, too, our sponsor is Ivy Organics at ivyorganics.com. Go to shop and get some of their 3-in-1 plant guard and use our promo code GROW10, GROW10, to save 10% off. So again, really great live stream this week. Glad that we were able to get a great conversation in with Cindy there. And then hopefully we will be able to get Travis back on the show real soon. Definitely will. I'm going to get on with him right away. And then hopefully maybe we'll make some plans to get him on and talk about what, possibly happened with his new pumpkin that he's got heading down to the Half Moon Bay competition. So again, I look forward to seeing all of you again tomorrow for another great discussion with Ryan and Jason about more giant talk. So we'll see all of you tomorrow, 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern. I'll see you then.